They looked at last year's game, looked at where they were this time 12 months ago, and probably found that there wasn't enough intensity or concentration in their play with 5 minutes to go. They got sloppy and they left Kilkenny in for goals, and they were just unbelievable today, Paul. They were clinical from the first minute. But I had a feeling myself all week that, in the last 2 weeks, since the whole media bandwagon started to gather a bit of momentum, that there was too much being made of Kilkenny. There was too much excitement around the county when Henry sort of declared fit. And it probably just reinforced the message how important Henry Shefflin is to the whole Kilkenny team, particularly to the forward line. TJ Reid had a good game. He got 3 points in play, but other players just didn't step up to the plate, didn't step up to the to the mark of responsibility really that Shefflin always takes upon his own shoulders. And that's why I gave Tipperary a huge chance. He's such a huge player for them that I felt that if he didn't function and it didn't last any longer than 20 minutes, that Kilkenny had no chance. And the return to form of players like Noel McGrath and Padraig Maher since they're showing down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh was another huge trump card for Tipperary. The huge young players, no baggage, great natural ability, and again today the two of them were just outstanding. Noel McGrath got a great goal and set up another great goal for Corbett, and Padraig Maher was outstanding throughout. So I did genuinely feel that there was loads of things that could go right for Tipperary, and they did go right, and loads of things on the Kilkenny side that just were negatives really. I just thought that the media thing was just crazy, to be honest. This whole thing made about the 8,000 people at training, I thought was a bit of a joke, to be honest.
Yeah, you say, do you think at this stage, there's no taking away from what Kilkenny have achieved, Seanie, 4 in a row was a great achievement, but do you think they've been overhyped?
Not necessarily overhyped, because they have been outstanding, like when I make that comment about the players, Eddie Brennan, these fellas have been outstanding. Their scoring record is just second to none, They will go down as some of the great players that ever played the game, but the point I'm making really is just that he's just so integral to everything that happens. His scoring return from play, Shefflin's I'm on about now, hasn't been as good as it has been, say, in the earlier part of the noughties. But when I noticed him in the Cork game, barking out instructions to Richie Power and Brennan at one stage, and he was obviously telling them to put the ball over the bar. They were hell-bent on getting goals to start. And some silly shots, poor shot selections. Even in the first half there, TJ Reid today went for a goal when it wasn't on, There's a time to go for goal, and there's a time to just tip it over the bar and eat away into a lead. Mm-hmm. So he's just so important to the team that I felt that if he came off today, that they wouldn't have a player of that calibre. I think in time Richie Power probably will step up to that mantle, and I think today he played well. But he's not there yet. He's still a young player, and it took time for Henry to evolve into that position. He didn't just come in as a young 20-year-old and end up as a playmaker and a scorer. Over time he evolved into the position. I think Power in time will as well. But no, I don't think it's fair to say they've been overhyped. They've been the greatest team we've ever seen in this generation. Whether they're the greatest team ever from people that have seen teams in the 50s and 60s, I'm not so sure, but certainly from the present generation of people that have watched hurling, say, in the last 20 or 30 years, you'd have to say that they have been the greatest team. They haven't been overhyped, but I did think that this week the media bandwagon was just ridiculous. The fact that there were so many at training is a great thing in one way, but I read an article this morning in Independent that Shefflin was clapped onto the field, and that you go training, you focus on your training drills, and you don't go to training to get a clapping, to be honest. So I don't think the media did them any favours in the week up to the game.
Yeah, no, they say goals win games, Seanie. Tip got 4 today, but they got 2 in the space of a couple of minutes early in the second half from Noel McGrath and Larry Corbett. Kilkenny responded well, in fairness to them, but that was a real turning point, wasn't it?
Oh, unbelievable. I've been here marking Larry Corbett all year. He hasn't been goaling hugely this year. He hasn't got a huge amount of goals this season. I think he still probably has 2 or 3, but his point scoring, his shot pitching at all times has been brilliant. The winning point against Galway was a great score, off his right hand, being pushed away from goal with a couple of defenders on him. He had the short and the hurling. It was a fantastic score. So, I always felt that he was going to be a big figure in today's game, and McGrath's form has gradually come back. Poor against Cork, came back a bit against Wexford, dipped again against Offaly, but started to come, and the last day against Waterford he was just a revelation. And again today, he went long periods without scoring, and as a forward you have to be really scoring, keep in the game and get your dander up. But he went long periods without scoring. But every time he got the ball, he won possession. He won it fairly cleanly. His touch was good, and he laid off scores to other people. And the goal for the lead up to Larry Corbett's second goal was just textbook play overall, from the way a defender should deliver a ball into a forward line, the way a forward should come onto the ball, and then the vision and the coolness, the tight situation out of McGrath started to give a reverse pass over his shoulder, and Corbett was away, and then it was a clinical finish. It was absolutely brilliant to see. So the 2 goals in quick space of time certainly gave them an unbelievable launching pad. Even though, to be fair to Kilkenny, they did come back, they brought it back to 3 or 4 points, but you did have a feeling at that stage that it was Tipperary to lose, to be honest. They were just so well, and their confidence levels were so high at that time.
Yeah, were you surprised, Johnny, that Kilkenny didn't really capitalise on they seemed to have a bit of momentum going in at half time, because with 5 minutes left in the first half tip, they were 6 points up, but there was only a point in it going in at the break, and you kind of felt Kilkenny would have been happy enough with that.
I heard lots of people saying that, even coming down on the radio there, but I'm not so sure. I think that Liam Sheedy, irrespective of the way his team were playing, if he was given a couple of stats before the game, he would have gladly taken them. One of them being a point up, I think he would have taken that. I know it was an unfortunate situation for Sheffield, but I mean, you have to be greedy in a situation like that. I think if Sheedy knew before the game that Sheffield would only last 30 minutes, I think he gladly would have accepted that as well. So I think he gets loads of ammunition and loads of things to give to his players at half time. You're ahead, you played well, but you dipped, and their talisman is gone. So what I did expect a big charge to come from Kilkenny, and a huge challenge still. I still felt that there was loads in the Tipperary tank. I still felt that, what he was saying, well, Noel McGrath would open up and start getting a few scores. Corbett, big players. Owen Kelly's threes would continue to be good. And our own midfield, they were, I thought they were winning the midfield battle hands down. I kind of highlighted that in the echo the other night. That the one area of the field that I really thought they had an advantage. There was loads being made of how well Char was playing in training, but just, I know that's the barometer for Cody, but I just think training in championship games are poles apart, and Fenley and Rice just couldn't match Brendan Maher and Seanie McGrath today. I mean, Brendan Maher is going for, I think, Young Player of the Year. After today, he could be Player of the Year. He was just incredible. His athleticism, his reading of the game, his delivery into the forward line, his pace, his toughness, his bravery, everything that you'd ask for of a hurler he had. So, when they were winning the midfield battle so easily, I just felt that even at half time that it was still Tipperary to lose.
Yeah, now where does Brian Cody go from here, Shawnee? There was some talk in the papers today that he'd be stepping down if Kilkenny won, but I'd imagine he's certainly not going to be walking away now.
No, I wouldn't think so. The guy is driven by success, and by, his ambition must be just incredible. I mean, if you could bottle it and sell it, it would be worth millions. I think where he is, as regards career-wise, his occupation, being a teacher, I think there are loads of positives in his life and his kids, probably nearly rare at this stage. I think there's loads of things that are pluses as regards, but can he give it the time? And I suppose today's defeat, it's hugely disappointing. They were going for an unprecedented 5 in a row, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cody gave it another year or two just to get Kilkenny back on track. Certainly I think he'd like to leave his managerial career on a winning note. He would have been not disgusted, but really, really disappointed the way they lost today. Quite a heavy defeat in the end, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cody go for another year.
Yeah, no, Shawnee, just over 3 months ago, Tipperary were on the end of a 10-point hammering against Cork down the Park Queeve. They were crucified up in Tip after that, especially from people like Babs Keating, and now here they are, deserving All-Ireland champions. It's been an incredible turnaround. Yeah, it has been an incredible turnaround, but I just wonder, really, was that part of the big plan? I mean, Kilkenny, when they were beaten in the All-Ireland semi-final in 2005 against Galway, Cody learnt an awful lot from that. He made it clear in his book, and any sort of commentary he made after that, he learned so much from that game that it stood to him, and it was part of the success that followed, and I think Sheedy was the same after last year's defeat. Concentration levels wane towards the end, and that probably happens when you're facing the team that you're up against, and I'd say he put him on a serious regime of physical conditioning and exercise, or gym work and all that in the off season, and you could see it in some of their performances. They were very lethargic in some of the league games this year, particularly in the game against Cork and Park Keefe, and then again in the championship after. So, obviously you don't want to lose any championship game, and you prefer to go the direct route. I think Tipperary's game against Cork on the 30th of May maybe was a bit too early for them. It wasn't part of the big plan, and they certainly made huge use of the qualifier games that came after. Even though they destroyed teams like Wexford, they still made use of it, and they learned something in every single game. And I think he's a very astute manager, Liam Sheedy. I think he's a fantastic guy. He seems to have a great rapport with his players. And, I wasn't surprised, to be honest, to see the victory at all. I wasn't a bit surprised, to be honest, because I think that in every single game you could see how they were learning. Maher's poor showing in the full back line against Cork, tried Declan Fanning there, and he ended up having an unbelievable game today in the half back line. And Paul Curran came in. He just shows fierce confidence in players to deliver. And I think that more than anything else, that the fact players play with the sort of industry and peak toughness that she as a player, very evident in their play today and all through the year. So, while it was a turnaround from the game down in Park Keefe, I do think that it was part of the big plan for Sheedy, and he didn't have any eye on the Cork game. At the start of the year, his eye was on the All-Ireland final, whereas Cork was probably on the Tipperary game all the time.